Welcome, welcome. We have another fantastic edition of Commander Deck Lists. It's American Idol shit right there, bro. That's what I'm saying. So, today, well, this past like 2 weeks I've had this, maybe even less. I've been tinkering around with something I've always wanted to build, and that is Azusa Lost But Seeking. What she's seeking, to hell if I know. I'm just a guy, that's all. I'm just a dude who plays Magic. She is a super powerful general if you build her right, and it's pretty hard to not build her correctly. 3 mana in a mono green deck. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. 3 land drops a turn, that is a huge, tremendous advantage. I mean, resources are a battle that will win you the game if you can take advantage of your resources. That's a sure route to victory. So when I first started playing, I at first made Malfagor, the dragon demon thing, the red-black Rakdos colored thing, and a buddy of mine, Logan, who had the Azure deck tech on my channel, also had Azusa Lost But Seeking, and his deck was just, it was fantastic. It was good one-on-one, it was good in multiplayer, it was just good, period. I mean, it was so versatile, it was not even funny for a monocolored deck. And what I did is I mimicked a lot of what he had in there, because I played that deck so many times I can recite it backwards. So it wasn't hard for me to find all the pieces for it, because I had them laying around. Figured I might as well build it. So it's basically a variant of his version that I used to play against, except I added my own few tidbits in here that he didn't have at the time. But we'll get to those, and I'll point them out when we get to them. Azusa Lost But Seeking. Seeking stuff. So my land base is pretty thick. I run 45 lands, 34 of which are forests. I can dig down there. There we go. 34 forests. 34 basic lands to start out of a 45 land deck. That's pretty awesome. I've seen a lot of builds that run 50. I've seen one build that ran 55 lands. That's retarded. Who the hell runs 55 lands? Mosswort Bridge, pretty stapley. Homeward Path, I'm running some fat creatures, and a bribery could seal my own fate with my own creatures, so I want to make sure I can get that stuff back. This is a powerful card in here. Springjacket Pasture, I frequently have extra mana, so sometimes rarely if I don't have anything else to do, make a goat. Meh. Phyrexia's Core. One of my removal pieces is Spine of Ishsa, so this allows me to recur that and play it and recur it and play it. It's a beautiful thing, and you may think that that is a very uneconomic thing to do, but when you have as many lands going into play as fast as I do, I'm spining people from turn 5 easily. So it's not uncommon at all. Strip Mine, I did not elect to include my Crucible Worlds. That's one difference between my version and his. He did run a lot of the Strip Mine effects. He didn't have a Crucible Worlds, but he did have Light from the Loam, and Crucible would have went in his, Logan's, but I didn't want to do that. But it's always good to have one strip type effect in your decks, just in case. Reliquary Tower, that's a powerful card because I frequently draw a poop ton of cards. I have Ugin. I do run the old Kozilek and old Ulamog. I run Blightsteel, I run Darksteel, I run Duplicant. I mean, there's a lot of things I can search for with that 7 mana search ability for a colorless creature card. I have a lot of options there, so Ugin is a powerful card. It's a tutor on a land, basically. Mirren the Moaning Well allows me to sack my big Eldrauzis or big Blightsteels right before they get stolen, or right before I go to die, and I can gain a lump of life. I actually used that last night. Somebody tried to control magic my Ugin, and I was like, nope, gaining life. Don't think so. High Market. This isn't a really powerful land in here. It's not super necessary, but it is an extra sack outlet land. And sometimes, especially to prevent people from stealing your stuff, it is kind of important. Temple of the False God, staple. And of course, Ancient Tomb to follow. Get that turn to Azusa. So, as I said, 45 lands. We'll get into the other junk now. Da, 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 da. Okay, so we're going to start with the creatures as usual. Lotus Cobra. Lotus Cobra just gives me free mana every time I play a land. Now I do want to note with Azusa versus Omnath. Okay, I tore the Omnath deck apart, converted it to Azusa because I had all the pieces. But there is a big difference between the two. They both play lots of lands, but Azusa is not focused on landfall and putting lands into play. It's not focused on that at all. You just want to play the land. So I don't run half, not even, I think I run like 2 ways to fetch up lands, 3 maybe, and that's it. The rest is just relying on just wicked, serious draw power. So landfall is not a huge factor here, but with Azusa, I'm easily able to hit tons of landfall triggers with Lotus Cobra. Eternal Witness, staple. Yavimay Elder, it fetches lands, it's a good early drop. Courser Crew Fix. This allows me to pull all those extra lands off the top of my deck, because frequently with Azusa you just don't have enough lands in hand to drop 3 a turn. So Courser does help play that out and pull them from the top of my deck so I can get those 3 lands per turn into play. And it gains you life, and that life does add up over time. Oracle Moldiah, same thing. I mean, it's just such a super powerful green card for what it does. Acidic Slime, pretty stapley standard. Seedborn Muse. I do have a few things that I can manipulate to an amazingly hellacious effect with Seedborn Muse, and I'll point those out when I get to it. Allows you to untap all your stuff on every other player's turn. That's powerful. Duplicate, removal on a stick. Worm Coil, another Eye of Ugin target that I can tutor with if I so choose. Also, one of, I think it's, yeah, other than Mirren and High Market, if you even want to really count High Market, Worm Coil is pretty much my only way of gaining lifelink. Kamal Fisticrosa, it's pretty much a game ender. Rampaging Baloths, it puts me a board presence out very fast. Steel Hellkite, it's a situational wrath on a stick. It allows me to target specific converted mana cost of permanents, and I can tutor it with Eye of Ugin. Avengers Zendikar, pretty standard, and I can hit this thing as early as turn 5 with Azusa. It's not a problem. This little combo here is a huge thing in this deck. Whenever I Tooth and Nail, or whenever I get Defense of the Heart off, I'd say 80% of the time, if it's early game and I just want a bunch of extra cards, I do these two. Trigger the Avenger first, get a bunch of green plant tokens, and then trigger Avengers Zendikar and draw like 10 cards on, I don't know, turn 6 or 7. That's a game winner. The Nasty Terastodon. It's kind of a standard stock green card. Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger. I mean, it fits the bill. I mean, I'm running a lot of green sources. Doubling my mana is just a game winner. Craterhoof Behemoth, he's the culprit of many sore butts in just about every meta, so I had to include him. Kozilek, Butcher of Taruth, also Butcher of Opponents. Darksteel Colossus, just a big guy, hard to get rid of. Shuffles back in a fee, somehow goes to the graveyard. Ulamog, just a big killing machine. Enough said. Then we got World Spine Worm, another big creature that if it dies I get things that shuffles back in. Blightsteel Colossus, another game-ending creature. Tutorable with Eye of Ugin. So now we're getting into my acceleration stuff. Burgeoning is a card that I frequently don't really need. Now I'm honestly thinking about cutting it for something else. One creature I wasn't able to put in here just because I couldn't fit it in was, it was Woodfall Primus. A big fat green creature that, hits 2 permanents, non-creature permanents when it dies. I mean, that's a very powerful card itself, but so I might take Burgeoning out and put that in, but I mean, this guarantees me a turn 2 Azusa. I mean, if I have any lands left in hand to use her with. Exploration. Now this one's a little different because this benefits me late game too. With that extra land drop does help a lot. Versus burgeoning, I have to wait till other people's turns. Late game in our meta, a lot of people tend to miss their late game land drops. Soul Ring just enables that turn 2 Azusa. Cultivate and Kodama's Reach, they're pretty much my only means of fetching lands. I do these two because they're, you know, turn 3, it's a nice early turn if I don't want to play Azusa or whatnot. Puts one into play and one into my hand so I can get that Azusa landfall trigger. Well, landfall thing, since I can play 3 a turn. Extra planar lens doubles your mana. I run basics, I don't care. I'm not a big snow land person. So if somebody else is running green, I don't care. Go ahead and get the little added benefit of your lands tapping for double if you run some green. Chances are nobody else is going to be running. There's not going to be 2, you know, mono green decks in the same pod. That's just not very common at all. And if you let that happen, it's kind of shame on you. You should pay attention to that. But extra planar lens is going to benefit me more than anybody else by a long shot with 34 forests. Cage Sun doubles your mana and only your mana. Now we're getting into the draw stuff. Horn of Greed. Oh, so happy I got it. Oh my god. Whenever a player plays a land, which with Azusa, you can play 3 a turn, you can draw a card. That's basically allowing me to play up to 3 extra, or draw 3 extra cards a turn. Fantastic. So here we got the old Sylvan Library, and couple it with a Spanish Abundance. So that's a super powerful combo. You know, everybody knows what Sylvan Library does. You know, you draw 2 extra cards during your draw phase and put 2 back unless you pay 4 life per card to keep it. Abundance says whenever you would draw a card, instead you choose land or non-land, reveal cards from the top of your library until you hit the named card, then you put that in your hand and the rest on the bottom in any order. So basically every turn with these 2 you're choosing land, non-land, whatever you want 3 times and getting those 3 types in your hand with none of the Sylvan Library drawbacks. Greater good, the greatest good you'll ever need. Harmonize. This is a fun draw spell for green. I mean, it's just good. Can't complain. Memory Jar. It's a very unconventional draw spell, but you know, colors like green just don't have a lot of mass draw. And Memory Jar, when you're, I don't know, say around turn 8 or 9 or 10, that can reload your hand and just wreck people with drawing an extra 7 cards. Genesis Wave. I don't think I Genesis Wave for anything less than like, shoot, I don't know, like 12 or 15 for the X cost, so I'm not going to whiff on this. I have a lot of permanents, and a lot of stuff's going to happen after that, so it's just a powerful card. Defense of the Heart. As I said, 80% of the time, whenever I get to tutor for 2 creatures and put them into play, Avenger's Zendikar and Regal Force are the 2 I go to. It's just situational, so sometimes I do Eldrazi, sometimes, I don't know, it's just situational. Planar Portal, that's one of the cards that I really manipulate with Seedborn Muse, because on every player's turn I get to tutor for a card, like a demonic tutor on every opponent's turn. That's super powerful. Basically, one of the first things I usually always go for is a Chromis Memorial, and by the time it gets to my turn I will have tutored for maybe 1 or 2 other things. Even if I only get the Chromis Memorial, it's pretty much game over. Tooth and Nail, tutor for 2 creatures, put them into play. Primal Command, it's got several modes, and last night I think I actually used the gain 7 life and put a non-creature permanent. I tried to hit somebody's Maze of Ith, because I was trying to land some combat damage with a creature with Sword of Feast and Famine to untap my lands and have another go-round. So that non-creature permanent, get rid of that Maze of Ith. I mean, or you can use it as a creature tutor. You can choose it. It's a very situational card. Now my removal stuff, we got Beast Within, pretty standard stock there. Spine of Ishsa. I mean, with Phyrexia's Core, that land allows me to recurve this so easily. And a lot of times when people do board wipes, they destroy all, you know, Nivendrel's Disc or Oblivion Stone, things like that. It's gonna die, so it's going back to hand. And there's Oblivion Stone, just destroy all things. Why not? And then I got All Is Dust. These are my only 2 board wipes. I mean, it's kind of counterproductive to do a bunch of board wiping in this kind of deck. So this, or All Is Dust, allows me to keep a lot of my really big game-ending things. Now my Planeswalkers, I run the 3 Garuks. I run Caller of Beasts. I mean, it just gives me some card advantage and the ability to slap a creature into play. Wild Speaker. The untapping 2 lands is very powerful. I can put out a body, or I can overrun, which is a game ender. And then Garruk Primal Hunter. This is basically a 5 mana, you know, draw X cards kind of deal. It's about all I use it for. Now we're getting into kind of like the miscellaneous stuff. Lightning Greaves, often used to just protect whatever fat creature I get out there. Sword of Feast and Famine, and its cohort, Nature's Will. I mean, these guys will win me a game through pure resource advantage by allowing me to get 2 play phases every turn. 2 uses out of all my lands. Untapping your lands every turn, that'll just wreck people. They get wrecked. Restock. Now, one difference between Logan's, Azusa, and mine is I didn't run. He ran Recover, I think, or Reclaim. I don't know. He ran a 2 mana growth. I don't know, regrowth. That's it. 2 mana, return a card from a graveyard to hand, and restock. Well, I chose to go with Restock and Praetor's Council instead. Because Praetor's Council, it's good late game, and a lot of times people board wipe, so I'm going to plan for that shit. I'm going to get all that stuff back, and I'm going to get no maximum hand size, and that is a very useful tool to have with Azusa. Staff of Domination, my other huge Swiss Army knife toolbox that I can use with Seedborn Muse, and I can pick tons of modes to use. I can untap creatures for blockers, I can tap creatures down for defense, draw cards, gain life. I mean the world is your oyster with this, so pick your mode. Last but not least, we have a Chromis Memorial. If I pull this, I'm gonna win. Like, I'm gonna end the game soon. Giving all my big fat things that don't have evasion and pro red, pro black, trample, vigilance, haste. I mean, it wrecks people. Plain and simple. R-E-K-T. Wrecked. So, that is my Azusa, Lost But Seeking. I don't think she's really seeking much, but she's gonna seek it. So, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.